And greetings, everybody. Welcome back. I'm GriffinGamingRPG. And thank you for joining me today on Thursday, November 30th, right? Is it the 30th? Yeah, November the 30th. Sorry, got a late start today. Just got a late start today. That's all I can say. But I am here today to go over so much that's been happening in the Star Citizen community, particularly with IAE. It has been a busy week. So thank you guys for being here with me. I see you've got Admiral Kusanagi. Hey, what's happening? Good morning. Socially confused, or good afternoon, I should say. Socially confused. How are you? Good to see you as well. Hope you all are doing well. Got a lot to cover today. I started late, so I don't know if I'm going to get everything done within the normal time frame that I have. So I may go a little bit over today, but hopefully you'll be able to hang in or tune in with me for the next hour or two, talking about the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. Today is the last day. It's wrapping up, in fact, in 1 hour. Let me see. The website, of course, has its countdown, right, to create even more FOMO. 1 hour and 10 minutes. You have 1 hour and 10 minutes to do whatever it is you're going to do. And the good thing about me being on here right now is the fact that don't have to think about whether I'm going to buy something because I'm doing this show. But anyway, it's been an interesting week. It's been a good week in relation to CIG. In fact, while I'm talking about that, I want to pull up an email. So bear with me here because I unfortunately just thought about this a moment ago. There we go. Let's bring this over to here and let's go back here. All right, there we go. So anyway, did you spend any money? Did you buy anything? Did you melt something? Did you consolidate your fleet? What did you do for IAE? I'm curious to know what you guys did. Did you hold on to your wallet and not spend any money at all? Or did you just use credit like I did? Did I toss in some cash? I think I bought a paint. No, I didn't buy the paint. I was going to, and I decided not to. I bought the paint, but I bought it with credit. So yeah, I did okay. I didn't do anything. I didn't put myself in any serious hurt. But anyway, if you did something special and you feel proud about it, drop it in chat. Let me know what you did. Let's go ahead and jump into what's going on, what has gone on with the convention. First off, as you guys know, this started back over a week ago, and I think it was on the 17th, something like that. And Every 2 days we had manufacturers who came to the convention for 2 days, staggered days. And we had some new ships introduced, some stuff that we knew about ahead of time, some things that happened a little bit later. But I really want to do is introduce, go over stuff that has been really kind of part of the conversation that people have been having since the convention started. But before I do that, I want to advise or recommend, not advise. I want to recommend that you guys would check out a video. This video was done by my good friend SubVeGio, also known as Geo Get Money from back in the day. Geo and I, as many of you guys know, we took a train ride to CitizenCon from Chicago to LA. It was a 2-day ride. We had a great time. We were both shooting video and pictures for this, and Geo got his video out before me. I've not gotten mine out yet, so I'm going to highly recommend if you get a chance to check out his video. It's very, very cool stuff that he has here. Let me see if I can. Is there something I can do here? Give me a moment here, guys. There's nothing I can do any different. Okay, I'll do that later. Let me do this for you guys. Let you take a look at it, and I'm going to put the link in for you too, if I can get audio. There's no audio. You guys aren't getting any audio, right? That's interesting. Oh, wait a minute. I know why there's no audio. Stand by. At least I think I do. It's the wrong thing. Oh. No. Give me a second here. Yep, that's why. Okay. System audio. How did my audio get moved around? Oh my God, my audio's coming through there. That's even coming through the wrong place. My computer. I did a new setup on my computer, and I tested this the other day. Hopefully my audio sounds better now. Okay. I don't know why that changed. All my features changed. Here we go. So this is Geo's video again, chronicling our trip, just to show you guys the
surprise, mother. What's going on? I know I haven't seen y'all in a while. How's everyone doing? I have to be kind of quiet because, as you can see, I am on a train on my way to freaking CitizenCon. Yes, I'm excited. I'm glad we took the train. I've been on here for about 2-3 hours. I got on here at 2:50. So yeah, almost 3 hours. I'm on here with my homie Griffy. I was trying to get like some footage of the train station and stuff when we got here. I ended up losing my windbreaker on my mouse, trying to rush. I was almost late. But so far I'm loving this. Like it's been a good choice so far. I know it's gonna take longer, but people missed the point. I just wanna chill, hang out with my homie Griffy. Get some grub kicking. We already been talking to how we was down earlier in the observation deck. I'll probably get some footage of that for y'all, but this is my first time riding the Amtrak anyway. I rode on trains before, but not on an Amtrak going cross country. And this is one of the best trains to do it and get some cool views. Like right now, it's pretty beautiful. Oh, there's a rainbow. Let me show y'all, man. Check this out. Some of the views. Look at that. Look at that beautiful rainbow. It looks like it's another one next to it, but you could barely see that one. What? Yeah, we're gonna have a good trip. That looks beautiful. Come on, bro. Well worth it, bro. I'm loving this. Get settled. This is my little roomette. I got a roomette. I want to get the bedroom. I ain't gonna lie, I almost did. I actually bid it to get one because they had some more open, but my bid didn't win. But this little roomette is cool. Just for me, this was probably perfect. I didn't need to spend that extra money. I was just being extra. I just wanted the more room. Just wanted to spend money. But this is pretty cool. This is supposed to be for 2 people. The bunk is up here. Matter of fact, I'll give y'all a little room tour. Check it out. Well, ain't much, but I put my suitcase under there. There's two seats, and up here is the bunk. It comes down, which I'm not gonna take that down right now. Charger. Got some lights, stuff like that. Tissue, your water, everything you need. A little table come down. You know, I don't know how to do it. Yeah. Oh, is that a button?
You have to give it a good pull. There you go.
Yeah, little table. Come down. I don't need it right now, though. Oh shit, that's your loud. Oops. Whoopsie. But yeah, me and Griffey was just kicking it up. We're about to go down and get some grub. We left. Today is Wednesday. We won't get there till Friday in the morning. But I'm cool with that. I'm cool, chilling. I'm on.
The bed
right now.
was actually.
And that's probably him right there. Speaking of the devil.
Hey, oh, I came back. I thought maybe you were in the.
I was just telling you two about you. There you go.
Really? Oh God. Yeah, I thought maybe you were in there still. And then I said, oh, I'm gonna get me a couple snacks for later tonight.
So anyway, I'm going to stop it here. If you guys get a chance, check out the video. Socially, what Gio showed you when he was sitting down, this is the seats actually. It's kind of a weird thing, but you know how like a recliner chair works? It's kind of like that. And so you kind of have to do this thing where you hit this latch and then it unlocks and then these things come out and then it connects like that solidly. And that becomes a bed on the lower level. And that's pretty much where most people sleep. The bunk is, if you believe it or not, it's if you have two people in that space. And thankfully, I had watched enough YouTube videos to know that you do not want to put two people in that space. So I had my own room, which was identical to Gio's, and he had his. We were on two different levels. The sad thing about this, the sad thing, I'm going to say the sad thing about this trip. The sad thing about the trip is train travel would be amazing in the US. It really would be. And it's really cool. Don't get me wrong. The views and everything are very, very nice. The staffing, the service on the train was really good. The problem is that much of the train is dated. These trains go back literally a few decades. And there's no real big investment in upgrading them because obviously airfare has taken over the aspect of travel. But there are, forces out there that would not want trains to become the new way or positive way of travel. Now, in other places like Europe and Asia, trains are the thing, right? They're like the coolest thing to do. The U.S. is lagging. We're really, really behind. Also, the tracks are owned by the rail companies, not by Amtrak. So they're sharing the rails, and freight trains and things like that take priority. What we really need in the U.S. is a dedicated rail service, high speed, that goes cross country. It could be multiple ways they could do it, right? But if they were to enhance rail here, I would travel by rail a lot. It was so cool to do this trip, even in the current state that it was in. It is expensive to do a trip like this from Chicago to LA was about $900 one way. One way. Now that included your meals. You got coffee and soda and water and stuff for free. You got one complimentary drink per day, that alcoholic beverage, I should say. But other than that, it was a really, really great experience. Gio said he'd like to do it again. I would too. You don't do CitizenCon in the States, at least to LA. That's like every 6 years or something like that. So would I do it again 6 years from now? Maybe I would, but anyway, the link for his video is in there. You guys check it out. When I get mine out, I'll see if I put mine out publicly or not, but I did do my own chronicle of the travels. It was a lot of fun. So that was that. Okay. So I wanted to give you the pre-trip before I start talking about what happened with CitizenCon, or IAE, I should say. This also came out on yesterday. PC Games posted this. Star Citizen just set a new staggering funding record. Let me blow this up a little bit so I make sure I occupy the screen better for you guys. For those of you who haven't seen this, Star Citizen's a massive new funding record as the space simulator for a cloud Imperium earns more than $3 million in a single IEE day. They had this record once before on a previous IAE. But anyway, there's this whole thing on this. It's kind of interesting to see I can't get mad at the industry. You know, the industry is the industry. But it is interesting to see how their perception of things are. Star Citizen is seriously picking up pace. First, we had the huge announcement of new trailers for Squadron 42 and the Star Citizen single-player component, starring Mark Hamill and Gary Oldman. Then came an extensive free-to-play period to celebrate the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo IAE 2953. As a matter of fact, Star Citizen is still free-to-play right now, but this is perhaps the biggest win for Star Citizen of all recently, as the gigantic space sim from Cloud Imperium Games sets a whole new crowdfunding record, pulling in more than $3 million of crowdfunding donations in just one day. Now, it's interesting that the tone of these articles, and I don't remember how PC Games, how their tone was, but I know we can talk about other ones like Kotaku and some of the other folks out there, massively overplayed, overpowered. The tone normally when they hit these big money markers of $3 million or $2 million was done with a bit of cynicism. And kind of like they're making more money, but why are people throwing money at it? What's the deal? Where's the money going? When is the game coming out? That's usually the tone. But you're starting to hear this more middle ground from the publications now regarding when CIG has some type of progress. Star Citizen's crowdfunding history is already extensive. Since the launch more than 10 years ago, the campaign to finance the huge game has earned, as of this writing, an unfathomable 644. We'll skip all that million. Squadron 42 is on its way. The Cloud Imperium is continually working to make the entire Star Citizen world seamless and persistent so that eventually everyone can play together at the same time. The IAE is an annual in-game event, in Star Citizen where new ships are blah, blah, blah. You guys already know that stuff. Skip. Based on the figures from Cloud Imperium itself, independent tracking website on November 25th, Star Citizen earned $3.5 within 24 hours, the highest single day total of the simulations game entire history. RSI is normally a flashpoint for donations. In 2022, we made $3.3 million and reached similar heights back in 2020. Nevertheless, this is a new record for Star Citizen, which is still yet to arrive in its full 1.0 release. It's free to play till the 30th, which is today. Check out other blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's basically it. I think a few weeks back, a conversation came up about how was CIG doing, right? Like, how were they doing as far as finances? Are they going to be in the hole? Are they going to break even? Whatever the case may be. And I said, some of you remember, I said CIG will be just fine. Between CitizenCon and IAE, they will make their money. Fastcard told me the other day that they have already exceeded. He and I had a bet, because this is when they were just under 100 million for the year. And we were trying to guess like how much they would make. And I said, well, they'll probably, I know that they'll make 105. Whether they'll make more than that, we'll see. Fastcard said they'll probably do 110. I think the target number is 113, I think, or 100. It's under 113, 115. Anyway, they hit 105. So they passed 105. So my number's done. Whether they get to Fastcard's number of 110, this is by the end of the year we're talking about. We'll see. But this isn't about CIG exceeding each annual amount that it brings in. It's record-breaking because they make more money. Over the last few years, they progressively made more money each year. What's important is that they meet their goals and that they can pay their bills. And if they've got some extra reserve, then great, right? This project is not culminating this year or next year. It's ongoing. It's going to go on for many, many years. And development will go on for many, many years. Now, the games coming out when they're put into a release date is another story. We may get them within the next couple of years. But the idea is that the persistent universe will be around for a long time, which means that there'll be a continuing way for them to bring in revenue to support the development of the game, so that this game becomes more like a Eve or like a World of Warcraft or some game that's been around for a good amount of time. So let's hope that they can continue to bring in revenue. Now, the way they bring in that revenue could be, there's all types of models that they can do. Obviously, one of the things that I'm hoping is that with the release of Squadron 42, with the release of Squadron 42, that will bring in a tremendous amount of revenue. If I'm remembering correctly, trying to remember. If I'm remembering correctly, when Starfield came out in the first month, they made the amount of money that Star Citizen has taken 10 years to make, if I'm remembering correctly, something like that. Some crazy number, I can't remember. But my point is, between Squadron 42, between other incentives that they may do, I think that the obviously the starter packages, greater interest in the game. Who knows if they're going to license out anything with Star Engine or license out tools. Who knows, right? But I'm sure they've got smarter people than me and some of you that will have a plan for what they're going to do for money. So that's that. Let's see. Don't forget, if you guys want to come in and share your thoughts, I am in Discord now. I wasn't a few minutes ago because I forgot to go in there, but you can join me and give me your thoughts. All right, let's move on. Let's get to IAE. Let's see. Where am I? Here. IAE. We had several ships that got launched for IAE this year. And some of them were ships we knew about. Some of them were in concept and they finally got put into our hands. And so let's start covering that. As you guys know, today is the grand finale, and all the manufacturers are up for less than an hour at this point. If there's something you want to get, you can click here. It'll take you right to them. There are upgrade offers that are still going on. Many of these ships, boy, oh boy, the prices of these ships. I kept saying the Orion was $675. It's $650. It went up by $75. I got to get it together. Polaris, $750. Prowler still $440, hasn't gone up. Here are the Razors, the Hammerhead, $725. Okay, Merchantman, $650. Free Fly ends today. That's going to be wrapping up as well. Hopefully, if you guys got in there for that, that was pretty cool. Let's see. I didn't get to see this artwork here. We laughed, we cried, we flew. It's hard to say goodbye, but it's not over. There's still time for you to take your favorite ship, blah, 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 blah. All right. Let's see what they've got here. Oh, they've got some stuff written over here in Xi'an. Mission complete burrito I eat. Yeah. Like did your Radar Valley. In a P-72. Cloudview Center Providence platform is safe. Polaris. I love the Polaris. Reminder. Aircraft with them on blast. Noobs. Bloodshot Ridge. Okay. All right. We got some stuff here. Interesting stuff going on. Join Nine Tails, kill Molly, eat burritos. Call Miles Eckhart. Parasite was real. Yela. Grimhex. Gundo. Wolf Point. Okay. Cloud Rest Retreat, Imperium Park, Prospect Park. Okay. I didn't see this. Not Whitley's Guide. Where's Jax? Okay. So a lot of fun stuff here. Hey, welcome everybody who's here, by the way, if I haven't got to say hi to you. Thanks for joining me. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this, gang. Let's talk about some of the ships that came out. Siulin. I don't know how to pronounce it. I've heard all those different pronunciations. Anyway, interesting ships. CIG kicked off IAE with alien ships this year, which is the first time they've ever done that. From High Tune to Humanity. Those of you who may have tried this ship out, I'm sure everybody, probably most of you, if not all of you, got a chance to try this ship out. Whether you bought it or not might be another story. Some people bought it because of cool factor. Some people bought it because they like the alien design. It's unique. It's different. Some people like it because it flies differently, just because it's a challenge. It's a different type of ship, right? So everybody has their reasons for why they took a look at this Siulin. Siulin? I don't know how to pronounce this thing. But anyway, it is a very interesting ship. Here's some of more of the images of it. To me, this is kind of a, first of all, this ship was marketed as a starter ship. To Admiral Kusanagi's point, what he calls a premium, which is what CIG called it. They called it a premium starter. It's a different ship. I'm going to see how it performs in game. I think it's going to be one of those ships that some people are going to buy, and maybe they're going to, after they get it, they're going to melt it. They're not going to keep it. It's going to be, for a moment, it was the flavor of the month. But when it comes to practicality, they may decide not to use this ship at all. It does take a little bit more to fly it. It's not as simple as flying some of the other ships, but some people may keep it because of that, because it's different. So we'll see what happens, where people go with this one. In fact, Admiral Kusanagi just stepped in. Admiral, you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Yes, sir. How you doing
Good
today?
afternoon.
Good.
Not too bad, thanks. Hopefully you're doing good today, Griff.
Good.
I think I really wish. I hope the ship comes into its own. I was always kind of surprised it has a full lavatory in it.
Yeah.
To include a bath and excuse me, not a bath. But I mean,
Yeah,
well, unless you want to sit in the
use the bird bath.
Toilet. I
use
guess.
the bird bath.
Yeah, use the bird bath. But it's got 12 missiles. It's got a lot of extra bonuses for a light, a starter ship.
For starter, yeah. Yep,
and I really hope they have some type of light armor that they're not telling us about it, because it just seems so like the ship looks like it's straight out of like a rock, and they just cut like a big chunk of rock or metal and they just cut into it.
That was a great observation that you made, because I didn't notice. I mean, I noticed the dull feature, but until I got up on it after you talked about that last week, and I looked at it, I said, "Wow, this thing, it does look like almost like stone." And I know that's what it looks like, and I'm hoping like you that it's actually something. I mean, it is an alien ship, right? And hopefully, like you said, there is actually something more to it than just aesthetic, right? That there's some technical,
It's kind of like the Cutlass. It's like the ship we were in recently, the Cutlass Steel.
Yeah.
Most people hate.
Yeah.
And when armor comes into play, it's going to be a big ship, because armor is just going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if this is something that maybe they failed to mention, or maybe it's just like, I don't know. I feel like there's something they're going to have to do to make this thing a little bit more survivable.
I agree. I hope that is the case. You're right. It does have some, and I know you've used this word before, and I'll give you credit for it. You said it has some premium features to it, which it does. And obviously the bathroom and stuff is cool, but the weapons is definitely a step up over many other ships. I think that the Aurora LN is the one ship that out of the starters, people have kind of defaulted to for being able to, be kind of good in combat as far as its weapon loadout, right? But most of the starter ships are not known for having, a decent loadout on them. And they're okay. I've always wondered how CIG is going to, how can I say this? Ships are called, there are ships that are called starter ships and starter packages, and they're called that because they're your way to come into the game. And no matter what game you play, I mean, Eve is the same way. There are some ships that you start out in and you graduate to. And the graduation is usually because the ships become more complex and more involved, more weapons, more shielding, more work to take care of them. And sometimes we see a size 1, size 2 gun, and we see that, and our minds automatically just overlook that, because we know there's such thing as a size 3, a size 4, and a size 5. So we think, okay, size 1, but they have to have some type of defensive or offensive measure in the game to be meaningful in some way. Otherwise, we could produce a ship like this, put no weapons on it, and say a size 1 will mean nothing in the game. So what I'm wondering is that later on, whether a size 1 weapon will actually, when the game is balanced, actually be something that is, in the hands of a skilled pilot, damaging. It can, maybe you won't kill the person who's attacking you, but maybe the size 1 can do enough in a skilled pilot's hands that it can significantly bring a little hurt, maybe not, nothing crazy. But if you engage with somebody who really knows how to fly the ship, they could give you a run for their money. Now, there's also going to be understanding the bigger fish, right? If you're fighting the bigger fish, do you want to be in a starter package ship and go against something that's, let's say something like a warden? No, you probably wouldn't want to. Maybe you would, because you'd have agility and speed in this ship, where a warden, even though it packs a lot of punch, it's sluggish, it's heavy. So I know a lot of times people dismiss when we see size 1, size 2 weapons, but I really wonder whether or not later on CIG will create some type of balance that in the hands of a skilled pilot can give you enough edge to survive, get away, and maybe under the right circumstances, maybe even defeat someone. We don't know.
Well, it's like the F8. The F8 was like the one all be all ship.
Mhm.
But then when they say, hey, against light fighters, it needs a kind of
Yeah.
cocktail.
Yeah.
I understand that you could put, electronic, what are those dampening
Mhm.
laser beams or whatever the hell they're called. And you could, if you take out a light fighter coming at you, like your first couple hits, you can take it out pretty quick.
Yeah.
But if it gets around the back of you, you're pretty much done. So I think, every ship that they're making is kind of, for specific roles. I think medium-sized ships kind of ones that kind of like have throw people for a loop.
Yeah.
But I think the idea is that they're gonna have like, I think that they're gonna become more of the light fighters, because I think we're gonna see more medium fighters, because they'll need transportation less. So once we start pushing out, you'll see more heavy fighters and medium fighters and a lot less light fighters, unless they're going to be based somewhere, like on a planet or moon or on a something like that.
Mhm.
It's just going to be hard to transport. You need to have them on a ship or something.
Yeah, it's a good point. Okay. All right.
But this has got crap ton. Okay, to actually go against that, this has got a crap ton of fuel. Like absolutely ridiculous.
Really?
Like there isn't one ship out there, a light ship, that has, I think, as much fuel as this. I don't think it has more. I think than like way more than the cutter. I'd have to look at my spreadsheet.
That's interesting. It's funny when it comes to these alien ships. I kind of wonder whether certain categories of ships will be much more than what we have and what we may think. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. What aliens will consider important may be different than what humans consider important, if I'm making any sense. I'm talking from a lore standpoint, right? And remember they said, like, for example, humans look at this ship and say, wow, this thing it's gorgeous. For Xi'an, look at it and think it's normal. This is not their epitome of luxury. It's their norm. And I'm wondering whether or not, to your point about the fuel, if things like that, whether that's just because the ship's not balanced, or whether or not there will be things like, to Xi'an's, making sure that fuel is not an issue, their ships will always be ships that have great fuel capacity, right? But maybe they suffer in some other area, and because I know we talked about this with luxury stuff, right? Whether or not when ships are a luxury ship, they're put together with premium materials, maybe those materials don't wear as much, or they can take damage better, or they don't, fire doesn't affect them as much. Kind of like when you get when you have a car, you go into, you get I'm picking a random car, an Acura or a Mercedes or something. The maintenance and stuff, those cars are very reliable, but when you take them into the shop, it costs your arm and a leg to get them fixed, right? But they don't break down. You're not the Chevy. You know what I mean? So I wonder whether or not that will carry over to manufacturers of ships, where if certain, like, for obviously, if you're a company that's building military ships, there are going to be certain things that are going to be more important to you. Weapons and shields and components may mean something where you don't care about the internals. You're not getting the luxury and the nice soft couches, but you are making sure that your ship is ready for battle. And it'd be really curious to see if they do that with alien ships, that each alien group, something that's important to them is what is magnified in their ship. And then it becomes a compromise for us. Do we want to step into that ethos of that type of ship? Or, this thing gets a lot of fuel, but man, all you got to do is hit it once and it's no good. You know what I'm saying? I'm curious.
All right, so I found it for you. So let's go off of a Titan. People love the Titan, right?
Yeah.
That thing is 90,000 liters of hydrogen.
Okay.
And 583 quantum.
Okay.
So 90 and 583. So 90,000 compared to 438,000. The closest thing to it is the Nomad, which gets 328. And below that, the 300i is similar with 105. So it's like the Nomad is 3 times that as the 300i and the Reliant Core, right? So the Sulan is 438 right now. So over 100,000 more than a Nomad. And the Nomad, which is the highest in this range, gets 770 quantum. This thing gets 2,900. This thing can go far as hell, which is why you have a shower, which is why you have a toilet. Like the Nomad has a toilet. None of the other ones have a toilet, from what I can tell. So this thing is designed to go places.
Yeah, that's
so it's a really cool ship.
Those are great stats for the Admiral sharing. I did not know this, guys, and maybe some of you all didn't know this either. But that's crazy. Those numbers are crazy. So maybe if you did get this ship, maybe you're like, wow, this is actually not such a bad deal after all, or maybe I'll keep it after you've heard that. Those are great stats, Admiral. I had not done that comparison. Wow. Okay. Well, for those of you who got it, if you got it in your melt, you maybe later on you'll say, maybe I'll keep this thing if I need to go long range across the, not to be funny, but Jesus Christ, that means you could cross Pyro in this thing. If those numbers are right.
That's what
do you think, Admiral?
I forget where Pyro, you could probably get across a lot of places with that much fuel.
That's what I'm saying. That's pretty, I mean, not to be funny, but that's, I'm not trying to be funny, guys, but think about that. You know, if you wanted to get somewhere, not because you wanted to go into a fight or anything, but you just want to be able to come out of the gate and get across the system, is this the ship you would use? Is it? Once you're in quantum, you're in quantum. Now, maybe you'll get pulled, maybe, but it's still fast and agile. You could probably get away from somebody if somebody snared you. You know, it'd be something to consider, whether strategically having a ship like this is just a jumper, just to get you from here to there. It's got decent weapons to fend somebody off if you need to. Is it worth it? That's a question you got to ask yourself, you know. Or is it better to have a ship that's more tanky, but you've got to stop 2 or 3 times at fuel stations to get across the system and be vulnerable each time you stop? It's something to think about. Okay. Well, thanks, Admiral. I didn't know that. We'll have to have a conversation about that later too. Okay. Let's move on to the next thing. This was announced ahead of time, and we didn't know about this completely. We knew about the Storm, the one with the turret, but then they dropped the AA, the anti-aircraft version. And boy, the popularity of both of these has been pretty cool. A lot of people have been interested in this. Admiral, what about you? Was this something that you got it? I know you've tried it out. I don't know, did you buy one of these or did you just try them out?
Hell yeah, I bought one.
You bought one? Okay. What's your review of it?
Oh, it's an air denial system. It sucks driving it around right now. It's really like it floats a lot, and yep. I think you're aware of that.
Yep.
But I think I'm not a fan of like throwing out 8 missiles all the time at one salvo, because I mean you only have so many, and we're not really sure how things are going to get kind of resupplied in the field right now.
Yeah.
But certainly it is, I think, an integral part of having a successful air denial system up, which would include the ballista for stuff for like the bigger stuff. Man pads, they do have that little 3 man pad rocket launcher thing that shoots missiles at you. And as you know, if you watched Ukraine, that thing is doing pretty well. So I would like to see them to get that thing working again. And then you've got the Centurion. So you've got this tiered layer defense that you could just really make like any vehicles very have a hard time getting in there. And like you use like, oh, I have the A2. I'm like, yeah, the A2 is designed for one big location or a couple of them, which is why you spread out your air defense. And you would have them just, you wouldn't group them up together. So yeah, you could take out one or 2 here or there, but the idea is like, and if you lose a system, then you could have something else back it up. So I think it's great. I think the range just needs to be improved. Maybe I'm trying to think. I know we just tested that out, but I'm not a fan of the getting in the front door, the front side of it. But as long as it's heavily armored up front, it's okay.
Yeah. I've kind of felt like, we've talked about this. Every vehicle, every ship has to have its pros and cons. Obviously there's some things, ships and stuff, that we could look at them and say, if they only did this, it would be the perfect. It would be the best. It would be awesome. And sometimes I wonder whether or not they build some of these things in that always has that thing that you have to think about if you decide to get it. Yeah, it's a great ship, but man, but you have to get in that front, or you have to get out that front, because we both know that they could have came out with a rear egress or, even a top. It's interesting that they chose that as a front. And I wonder, maybe it was just nothing more than cool factor, but I also wonder if there's a balance dynamic that says that, and we'll have to see, is there vulnerability, like you said, even being in the front? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's armored enough and shielded enough that it's still about the rear and the top if you want to take this thing out. But we'll have to see. We did take one out last night. I took the AA variant, and Admiral was with me, and it was fun to drive, but definitely slippery. Definitely too much. It doesn't have the weight that you would think that it has. It has a decent amount of speed, but it needs to feel like it's holding the ground better. It's definitely sliding way too much, turning. You can drift in this thing, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be able to, but the amount of drift in here is it's like a racing car almost type of drift, which is way too much. What did you think about the pricing on this, Admiral? Did you think that the 80 and 90 was fair in comparison to the Nova tank? Did you think that was a good place where they have it?
I don't remember how much the Nova tank was.
It first came out, it was 90 when it first came out, and I think it's 110 now, maybe, I think.
Well, I mean, in that regard, I mean, that thing only has, 40 rounds, I think? Or I think it has, 40 rounds total. So, I mean, you're getting, 80-something here, which isn't bad. It's just funny, because I was just going to say, I was expecting Thundera to come with my tank, but she's not there. So, because it looks like the Thundercat vehicle. Have you noticed that? It's actually looks like the Thundercat truck.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you can see definitely influence there. I think it's a cool thing. I'm wondering if CIG is also stepping up their vehicle game, particularly because this, this question about how will vehicles be important, when I could just land somewhere, right? Why would I take a vehicle when I can land somewhere? But when you start having vehicles like these Storms, vehicles like the Nova, you mentioned about the Centurion, the other ship, the vehicles that are made. When those things start coming into play, and when players start coordinating and use these things, then flying into some place may not be a good thing. I mean, it really may not be, because these things can take out ships, and even doing like an air patrol over a location may not be good if someone really knows how to put these vehicles in a tactical way to use in the game. I'm thinking about it also because we just looked at the CitizenCon, and they were showing the new UGFs, and they were showing how they did all this work with putting in the roadway systems, because we've been hearing about roads for a while. I'm really starting to think that this road dynamic is going to become way more important, and you're going to really have to think about, do you want to fly in somewhere or drive in somewhere? That's going to be the thing now, I think, way more in the game. But we'll see. We'll see where they go.
Sorry, Griff, I'm getting off track. I just have the Thundercats theme song in my head right now.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Let's jump to this one. The C series, the Spirit series, rather. I'm sorry. This ship, the C1, we know that the A1 was also released, but the C1 has been interesting. I've heard a lot of people talking about this ship. I think the A1 is nice, but it's definitely much more specialized. People who are into the whole bombing thing are going to dig that one. But this ship of the three seems to be the one that is most interesting to people. I didn't think I wanted this ship because I had so many other cargo freight ships that fit into this category. Particularly, I had a Constellation Aquila. I had a Taurus. I had a Hull A. Hull A does 64 SCU. This ship does 64 SCU as well. But I ended up melting my Nomad. I got the Nomad with the thought that I would use it for throwing a bike on the back of it, that I would also maybe throw the rock on the back of it and do mining. But I realized over the last year, I had not used that ship other than to ferry myself from one location to another. And so I opted to melt that. I had some credit laying around, and I bought one of these. And I will say that I love Crusader ships, but I don't own a lot of them. The only ones I've owned has been the A2, and I had the C2. I did not have a Mercury Star Runner. I didn't have any other ships, but I really like this ship. Took a little bit to get used to the footprint because of its width, its size. It's definitely bigger than it feels sometimes. We were having a conversation the other night with some of the folks from Seoul saying that the ship is actually overbuilt, which it is. It doesn't have to be as big as it is for what it does with carrying only 64 SCU, but it's an aesthetic thing. It's a Crusader look. They could have definitely shortened the wingspan. It didn't have to be as pancakeish as it is, but it's a beautiful ship. It is really, really nice, and the price point for it was pretty good. Admiral, by the way, don't forget, guys, you guys can come into chat if you got any thoughts about any of the things that we're talking about. Just click on the link and come in. Admiral, your thoughts about the C1? Anything?
I don't have the C1. I actually, like you, I kind of had to look at the ships that I have already and be like, okay, do I need, like you have the same cargo abilities of two ships.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have the Hull B, I have the Taurus, in that size range, and so the C1 didn't really make any sense to me, even though it's a beautiful ship. I actually have the A1, and it flies like I was using it recently, and it flies really, really well. It's super smooth. It's probably one of the most nimble ships. It almost flies like a fighter, really, but it has more weight, so it's a little bit more. I don't know. It's like one of the best flying ships, I think. I think they did a great job with it. Some people don't like the wings, how they have the VTOLs there. I'm perfectly okay with it. It just flies really. I'm really, really happy with it.
Yeah.
So if you want a ship that you're thinking about, then
definitely
save up for this, I think.
I agree.
Good option.
I agree. I flew it. And the other thing that's nice about this ship, it has a Class B quantum in it by default. This thing gets across the system fast. You really don't have to upgrade it unless you just want to upgrade for the sake of upgrading. I got across from ArcCorp to Microtech in almost half the time that I would with a standard stock Class C. It really moves fast. Good acceleration. Admiral said it right. Flies well. So, it's the C1 definitely. I own an A1. Excuse me, I own an E1. So the fact that those two ships, those first two, the A1 and the C1, have fly very well and it seem to be designed well. It makes me excited about the E1 for transport stuff in the game. Very nice. This is socially confused. This has replaced my Cuddy. Wow, that is something I've heard a lot of people say. SC. A lot of people have been saying that this is becoming their daily driver. I had an instance where a friend of mine, before I bought it, I rented it, and a friend of mine was out doing some missions, and there was some loose cargo from a ship he had destroyed, and he was like, "Is anybody available to pick this up?" I said, "Yeah, I'll come out." I said, "How much you got?" He says, "Oh, I don't have a lot of stuff." So I opted to take this out. I had rented it and I hadn't flown it yet. I said, "Well, I'm gonna bring a C1 and try it out." And I took it out, and I know it's got a tractor beam on the back. I didn't fill up to trying to do all that because I wanted to get this stuff and get out. But when I arrived, I had a multi-tool with me. I grabbed 132 SCU box. I grabbed 116 SCU. I grabbed 1.8 and then a bunch of 4s. And I did that in less than 2 minutes, and I had this ship filled up and ready to go. So the fact that you can operate that quickly loading a ship, and mind you, I said 2 minutes. This stuff was floating in space. He basically had piled everything like right into a spot. I backed the ship right up to it, and I just grabbed the stuff with a multi-tool, placed it, got back in, and took off. Was really, really satisfying. So this idea of whether or not loading ships is going to be laborious, but also it's not necessarily easy. This is a small ship with only 64 SCU, so there was no big logistics thing. I did have to think a little bit because the 32 SCU took up one side and the 16 took up the other, half. So it wasn't a big deal. But later on, as ships get bigger, if you're taking like a lot of people like taking the whole C out. And don't get me wrong, whole C is great, a lot of room and stuff, but you do have to be thinking when you start putting stuff down on the grids, because it's going to mean something. You may not be able to get everything in if you don't load the ship properly. Ships like a hull A, and to Admiral's point, a hull B, you may not think those ships are great to use, but let's face it, those grids are out in the open. You pull up right away to some stuff that's floating out in space, you could slap it on right away, no thought, and take off with no problem. When you've got to put it in an enclosed ship, you've got to really be thinking about how you place those items. So, all I'm saying is that this whole thing that they're doing with the cargo refactor and cargo 2.0 and us being able to do it, I think CIG's on the right track. I think that loading a ship, the bigger the ship, the more logistics, the more you're going to have to think about it, a little bit more time, but not so much time that you feel like you wasted your whole day loading your ship up. which I think is cool. I did enjoy it. There was labor, there was work. I had to get out there, move it around, and think and everything. That was so cool, but it didn't feel like it was tedious, you know. So anyway, that's what I got to say about that. Let's take a look at the next one. The SRV. I had one and I melted it. And the only reason why I melted it was not because I didn't like it. I love this ship. I think it's great. I flew it around last night. Like I said, I was out with Admiral last night. But the reason why I melted is because I have a kind of a hard rule that I try to stick to in my fleet, that anything less than $300, I will work for it in the game. I keep thinking I'm going to raise that number, Admiral, to 400. But for right now, anything that's less than $300, I'll work for it, even if I love it to death. So I melted it, and I used it to upgrade, I used some of the credit I had to get the Arastra by melting this ship. Admiral, any thoughts on the SRV?
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would like an ability to like manipulate a ship so that it's traveling straight, or so I can right side a ship up.
Yeah.
That's like my only thing with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's certainly it can only pull so much. I tried it a couple days ago. There was a constellation on top of the micro. I keep saying micro center, microtech, parking garage, and then so I'm like, oh, let me try my ship since I'm here. See if I can do it. Hopefully, I didn't get a crime stat. I got no crime stat, and I was able to pick it up. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me see if I can set it on the ground, and then I was like, okay, I seem to be going down a little bit, and so it was kind of like losing altitude. I'm like, oh crap, I definitely don't have enough oomph here.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to like just kind of, I wasn't like full, bore, like pointing to the sky or anything, but I was just trying to get control of it. And the issue with it is like you're trying to like manipulate it at the same time, like fly the ship. I feel like it's like should be like a 2-person vehicle now. And yeah, that's my kind of thing right now. I feel like there should almost be like 2 people for it.
I'll say this: we had the same thing happen. We took it out. We attached it to a 135, and that was easy, right? Easy peasy, no big deal. And then we said, let's step it up. Let's see what we could take. So the next thing we took out was a Connie, just like you. And it was able, in space, we attached to the Connie, no problem. When we went down into atmosphere, we went to a moon, though. And no, we went down to Hurston, I think it was. Yeah, I think we were at Hurston. Or Wimby was a moon. I can't remember. But anyway, when we were going down, we were flying horizontal at first, but as we entered atmosphere, it was. We had to battle the gravity. And so I think it was Zombie Pig. He had to give increased acceleration to maintain a horizontal position, because what was happening was the Connie was doing us like this. And eventually we were doing like this, right? We were literally like you said, pointing upward. When he accelerated, he would get us back like this. So then the question became, how does he get me on the ground safely? We were able to find the right amount of speed so that the Connie hung just underneath, but enough that he could bring me down. But there was no way for him to bring me down and sit me down like we did last night. The atmosphere was, the gravity was too much. We were in atmosphere. And when he dropped the Connie, disconnected, I rolled a little bit. Then we tried to see whether he could pick me up out of atmosphere, which he was able to do. But again, he had to point at like almost a 70-degree angle to pull me up. The tractor beam is not wonky, but they have it where, like you said, it doesn't track directly behind you, but it has a tendency to sway to the left and right. And you can move your ship. What's funny is that if you course correct with your ship so that that your ship is behind you, whatever it is you're towing, and you start going straight again, it will still have a tendency to drift to the left or right. Now, is that the mechanic? I mean, is that the way they want it? Maybe it is. I was hoping, like you said, Admiral, that they'll make it so that we can control the beam like we do with the multi-tool, where if I hold down R, I can invert, I can turn the ship left, right, I can, move it on 6 axis so that when I do want to sit it down, I'm not just plopping it, or if it's upside down, I've got to wrestle with it. And we'll see whether they build something in like that.
Well, it's like last night. You used it last night, and I don't want to get into the whole thing, but you sat down and it's just like, oof, I was happy because, I tried fixing it with the multi-tool with the little, people don't know you can fix ships a little bit with the multi-tool. And because I'm like, a couple of the landings were kind of rough, and I'm like, I don't know, where it is to, like, I don't know the difference between soft death and hard death, and like how much a physical blunt force, like dropping a ship out of the sky to to put on a repair pad is how much it can handle. And I think you need those little tweaks that, and it's certainly pilots, need to. One of the issues is with the pilot yesterday, like, was dealing with Griff, and then they forgot to realize they didn't have their landing gear down, so they just belly flopped on the ground with the SRV. So it's going to take some pilots are going to need some time to figure it out.
Yeah.
But there are mechanics they need to help to tweak, I think, for this show.
And we can see the promise of where this is going, right? A lot of things it can't do yet, like it can't pull small asteroids and stuff yet, but we definitely can see where this is going to fit into the game. Really, for cooperative gameplay. Like last night, we had fun. We went out to do one thing, right? And next thing you know, we're using the SRV, which we weren't expecting to do last night. Even in its wonky state. Okay. Let's move over to the big daddy here. The big thing that went on sale this week was the Arastra, the deep mining platform. This was interesting. This thing sold like hotcakes, and I was a little surprised, to be honest with you. But in retrospect, I kind of think I know why this thing sold the way it did. This ship is like the best balance. If manned well, it is the best balance of everything for mining. And I'll share with you why I say that. Prospector entry level coming into mining, great. Always the standard. Anybody could jump in and have fun with it. The mole. And some people think this is killing the mole. I think that it's killing the mole because of people's perspective, not that the mole's not relevant in the game anymore. The mole is designed to be multi-crew. The mole holds 3 times, if I'm not mistaken, the amount of materials as a prospector. I used to think it was twice as much. It actually holds 96 SCU, I think, as to the other one is like 36 or something. I forget, 32. 3 people who cooperatively play know what they're doing. That is always the situation with me, it seems, with the mole, that there are people in the mole who don't know how to play cooperatively, and therefore they get frustrated. They don't feel like they produce as much as they do when they're mining by themselves. So they'll say, oh, I can do as much in a prospector as than you can do in a mole. That's because probably the other 2 people that are working with you, or you don't know what you're doing in a mole. But I've been out with 3 people before. I'm talking about 4, a pilot and 3 people in lasers. And it's highly efficient, very quick when the people know what they're doing. And yeah, are you splitting it 3 ways? Yeah, but you're bringing in 3 times the amount of material. It's the same as if you go out with a prospector. So with a prospector, each time you take that stuff in, I'm not talking about if you're selling it raw, but if you're refining it, each load is going to be on 3 different times when you're loading it, right? If you go in with the mole, you go in 1 time and you drop all that stuff off. Instead of making 3 trips to the refinery, you're only doing 1 trip to the refinery. So I think it's a matter of logistically knowing how to operate the ship. So now we get this ship, the Arastra, which lands between the Orion and the mole. The Orion, let me talk about that first. The Orion is the granddaddy, the big grandmommy, whatever you want to call it. It is the honker. It's the big one that's intended for deep space mining. You go out into a belt with this thing. Either you go into deep space by yourself if you want to, where nobody's at. And that's a risk. But that ship is tanky. It could take a lot. But you go into deep space and find you a belt somewhere and you decide to go out there and park and you're just freaking anything that's in front of you, you're grinding it up and mining it. Now, mind you, if you're lucky enough to find a belt with a good strip of stuff, that's cool too. If you happen to land on a bunch of barrel and that's what you're grabbing, fine. But my point is, you're going to find stuff and you're going to grind and grind and grind. You're going to get this stuff in. You're going to use remote drones also in the process. You're going to have a refinery that's running. You're hitting the big rocks. We're talking thousands and thousands of tons of rocks that you're pulling in and bringing this stuff in. And you may decide to log out that day because you stayed on that ship, or you may decide to go to another system from there. And then once you're filled up, are you going to fly it back home? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you're going to contact Admiral Kusanagi and say, listen, I've got a load that's ready to go. I need you to pick this stuff up. your Orion's staying out there, and you're going to have that stuff cargo transported in and dropped off and delivered. But this ship, on the other hand, gives another advantage, and that's the fact that this ship can operate both in space and it can operate on the surface of a planet. It can also carry mining vehicles in it as well. So you can have somebody who's surveying, you can have somebody who's out breaking up rocks in a rock, or maybe goes into a cave. You drop them off and let them do cave mining while you take this and go out and do some mining on the surface somewhere. You can refine in it as well. So you could do a whole lot of stuff in this ship. The only thing is that it has to be crewed. Now, I know there are going to be some of us who say, I'm going to take 2 people, 3 people out and use this ship. And it's not that you can't. You can. But to get the optimum use out of this ship, you're going to want to have 5, 6, maybe even 7 people. Maybe 2 people who you drop off to go do the stuff with the rock, and they go in the cave. You've got another 3 people, 4 people in the ship that are both doing laser mining. You've got a top, a bottom laser. You've got a forward laser. And then you've got somebody who's running your refinery. So you can easily see how there could be 5, 6 people, 7 people manning this ship with no problem, very easily. So that's what I think about this ship. Now, question is, do you have that many people that are going to go out with you? Or is it going to sit in your hangar and collect dust because you thought that you could do it? So I don't know. What are your thoughts, Admiral, on this?
Well, it won't be in my hangar with a lot of dust. I mean, I imagine it'd be a good, nice, thin layer of dust.
Did you get one?
Yeah,
Did you get one or no? Because you may not have. Some people chose not to get it, and I'm not saying you should. People should. I'm just curious.
Nah, because I'm not seeing a therapist anymore, so I just decided I had to get it because they're like, there's no I don't want it. Like, oh, how much does this thing cost? Okay, sure, whatever. I'll deal with it the following month.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's great. I really do. It's funny because I've been pulling back from mining a bit because of their kind of just the way it's been. So it's been just the same thing over and over again. And looking at the ship and the what it gives people who were into mining, I think it's fantastic. It really is. I think it does. The one flaw is it doesn't have any really protection beneath it. But I mean, all you gotta do is turn your ship upside down and then you can defend yourself there. But I think it's really good. I'm not sure. I mean, I know people are going to be like, I'm going to NPC crew the thing or whatever. I think it's a nice size. I think one of the issues I don't have the moles because you have the people outside the ship, and I like the fact that you have everybody kind of in this little control center, having control of the mine. You could talk to them using your open CIG, comms that you can talk to people. You don't have to use Discord or anything else. I think it's really cool that way.
It's a nice ship, 64 SCU internal. That's enough room for you to get those rocks in, a rock and some cargo, or maybe 2 rocks and a little bit of cargo, But, we talk about cargo, we talk about supplies and stuff. But it's got 512 SCU, a lot of space to put stuff in here.
And it's mixed cargo too. So like the 64 is that's your supplies, and then you get rock cargo, and it's gonna fill whatever you have up. So I don't know.
The pricing. It was a little bit more pricier than I expected. I'm not saying that it's overpriced. I'm just saying it was more than I expected. I looked at the mold at 315, the Orion at 650, and I was kind of landing more around 475 cash and maybe 500 credit. But they were a little bit higher than that. They were $525 with cash and $575 with credit. So it was a bit of an investment for folks if they decided that they wanted to go with this ship. But compared to an Orion at 650 and an Orion, which is much more demanding, this ship kind of hits right in that middle for those who are serious about mining, but not to the point where I think you could get this and choose not to use an Orion. You could kind of say, the Orion would be nice, but I'll work for that. Or I don't need an Orion, one of the two. I'm a big mining person, so when I first saw the Orion, I wanted it. No question about it. No, I didn't make a difference what else they made. I wanted a deep space miner. So for me, it was a no-brainer. But for people who maybe have a prospector or a mole, and don't get me wrong, if you choose to move up from a mole to this, that's cool. Not a big deal. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying, just understand that the logistics are different. That's all. It does offer more than the mole, especially with the vehicle and the amount of material that you can carry in it. But again, it's still going to take the right amount of people. And even if, and Admiral just mentions NPCs, will NPCs be capable to run a laser? Now, I don't know. I'm not saying they can't. They do amazing stuff with technology these days. But the nuances it takes to cut rock, are we really expecting NPCs to have that level of nuance when it comes down to cutting a rock? Because you guys know it takes skill, and it's skill based. It's not just pointing a laser at a rock. Now, mind you could always say, NPC, put your laser at 100% and I'll do the nuance. Maybe that'll be the way it works. I don't know. But even then, that's still inhibiting, because at some point those rocks break up into smaller rocks, and you want 3 people who are breaking those small rocks up, because all of those are nuanced. You can't set it 100.
Could you imagine dealing with an NPC and lag?
Oh my God.
Because you're like in the mole, right? You got 3 people in the mole, and like if there's any lag, like you're going back and forth, like, cut down to 20%. Okay, cut down to this. You're going back, and people like in comms like losing their mind.
Yeah.
And if you get NPCs like shooting the lasers, you might have some serious problems.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's a lot here. Can one run the refinery? I don't know. And I know you guys. I know we really want that to happen, but let me tell you, there's things that they say. They said that even doing refinery on the Expanse, they said it's experience skill based. In other words, the more you do it, the more you know what ingredients to put together for the refining process. As a player, that will determine the quality of what you produce. And this goes along with what CIG said about NPCs versus human players. NPCs will be good, but they say you'll get better out of another human player. So yeah, maybe the NPC can run the refinery, but can it give you the optimum yield from the refinery? That's going to be the question. I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying we don't know just yet. So that default thing of, I'll just get NPCs to do it, just be aware. Be aware that we don't know completely what NPCs will be able to do. They will be able to do things, but you may find out that it's more expensive, or for me to get a high quality NPC costs me a lot of money to do that. Or maybe they're limited. Maybe there's only so much they'll be able to do. So just keep that in mind if you decide to get ships. And also, hey, guess what? I have no problem working on Admiral's ship. I do not have to have a ship. If I know my buddy's into mining and I like mining, I could just go mine on his ship. He's going to need the help,
Let me ask you this. If they sold the Orion and this at the same time initially, which one would you have bought?
See, I'm weird. Both.
You would have bought both? Okay.
That's because I'm really into if there's nothing else in this game, as far as making money goes, mining is going to be my main source of bringing in revenue. Even though exploration is my thing that I love doing in the game, but as far as what I'm going to do to, bring in the bucks and everything, mining is number one. Salvage would probably follow after that, but mining is number one. That's what I've done in Eve. I love mining. So for me, having the Prospector to the Orion is just an automatic, because that's my fleet. You know what I mean? Everything else I'll work for, I'll earn, I'll do this, I'll do that, transport that. But as far as, that's why I own every mining ship, because no matter what the application is, I want to be able to have access to that immediately, because I'm bringing in revenue. Now, for a person who's coming into the game and they say, I want to go, or let's just say I've got a Prospector and I know I want to do more mining. This is the way to go more than the Orion. This is the way to go. The Orion is dedicated mining. That's dedicated. This ship, you can go out that day with somebody and come back that day. You're not going to do that with the Orion. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I'm saying I can see going out in this ship in a couple of hours and mining, and coming back home. You could just sleep in the beds and log out. But if I had my friends on there, do I want to trap them on my ship overnight? I wouldn't have to in this ship. I think this ship I'd go out and mine, and I'd go to some station afterward and log out. The Orion, I'm not running back and forth to a station with that. I'm planning on going out 6, 7, 8 systems out deep away from my home, and probably be somewhere where there may not be anything more than an R&R, I'd log out in that and stay out in deep space. But that's my form of gameplay. So this to me, if it were between the two that you go for, I'd go for this. And the Orion is another type of beast altogether. Okay, let's see. Almost. Hey, I don't know how true this is, but I've seen a few videos by different YouTubers that mention the roster will be heavily automated. Yeah, there's nothing in the documentation in the Q&A that says that, so I'm not sure. That, I can get why people may want that, but there's a theme in this game that Chris Roberts seems to be doing, and this is my observation. I could be totally wrong. I could be reading the tea leaves incorrectly. And that's the balance between solo gameplay so that people can come in and play the game and feel like they've done something, they've accomplished something. And then there's also cooperative gameplay, which Chris came out of that generation where, gameplay cooperative was literally you played with other players to accomplish things, which is why there are ships like, for example, the Expanse. Could we put a refinery on a mole and probably a prospector? Sure, we could have had those ships do everything, but there's deliberate reason why there isn't, because there are going to be people who are going to be mining, and I'm going to be the guy in the Expanse who comes up and parks next to you and enjoys doing refining and getting out of my chair and going back and working the levers and balancing things and making sure that Admiral's gold is as refined and the best possible thing possible so that we both can profit. Now, could they put that all in the prospector? Sure, they could have, but obviously they didn't. So there's a reason why they're doing that. There's a reason why the Mole is a cooperative gameplay ship. Could they have put a refinery in it? We've even talked about that. They could have, but they didn't, right? And there are reasons why they're doing this for balance, so that there could be solo play, there could be cooperative play, there could be play where maybe I don't even know you, but I hire you because I know that your org does this and does it well. They're trying to create branches that are way bigger than solo play in the game. And God bless you, solo players. I love you guys. I play games solo too, but I get way more enrichment playing in cooperative play. And there are things that I do in the game that are strictly me by myself, and I do them. And then there are things that I play with other people. And I struggle with this. I struggle with it because I know there are people who, it's hard for them to play with other people. They're social dynamics. They're just not into that. But to create a game that allows a solo player to do everything, to say, I'm going to take my Idris out and I'm going to solo my Idris. There's nothing in real life that works that way. And after this game is real life, it's a game. I get it. Trust me. But you can't take your destroyer out in the Navy by yourself and go. You can take it out of the dock maybe once you get it started, but that's just not reality. So balancing reality and gameplay and fantasy is a tightrope that CIG has to walk down that doesn't alienate solo players, but also there's a certain point that says, okay, can a solo player run an Orion? And if they do, and if they can, what is the counterbalance to that? Maybe they can, but the risk factors are so much greater than the solo player may have to determine, is it worth it? 1 out of 10 times I get attacked, I lose everything. That's a tremendous amount of loss for a solo player when your ship has been tricked out, new lasers, new components, all that other stuff. And it's a huge financial hit for a solo player. If you've got a ship that's manned with 5 people and you're able to defend and be able to mine faster and quicker, maybe it's better. If NPCs are helping you, maybe you're not getting the yield you want, but you can still do it solo. But maybe the person who uses human players makes 3 times in value what you made as a solo player. And for the solo player, they may be content with that. They may be like, that's the trade-off, I'll take it. And that's cool if that's the way they feel about it. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what folks do. Griff, I did not know about the solo channel. Oh, okay. Hey, Danger Hobo.
I mean, I just love the aesthetics of this ship. I don't know if the whole line's going to get this aesthetic, but I definitely think the Phoenix will get this type of look.
Yeah, the RSI look, there you can kind of see the constellation kind of nacelles in the back that they went with a little bit, which is kind of cool. They talked about they didn't want the ship to look too modern and sleek. They did want to give it a little bit of a industrial edge. If you look at the cockpit area, it kind of has that squared Argo look to it, So they're kind of hybriding it a little bit, to make sure that it does look, kind of RSI-ish. But at the same time, it doesn't have the It is still streamlined, you know.
I think the cockpit's a little streamlined, like
Yeah, it's still streamlined,
it's
but it's
like
got that rectangular thing there, you know. Yeah, it's a nice looking ship. You're right. It is a nice looking ship. It really, really is. And you know what? It also has the reflection of a little bit here of the Nautilus. It has a little bit of the Nautilus look here with the wedge that moves toward the front a little bit, but that would be Aegis, you know, different manufacturer.
Thank you. Thank you so
Aegis?
much for saying that.
Yeah, a little bit.
You're the only person.
Yeah. Okay.
You said Aegis, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to touch base with almost over though, but because they talked about you brought up the Expanse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that ship literally is inside this ship, and like the Expanse, you have to manually adjust those. You know, you have to refine it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So this, you know, if the ship is allowing us to be able to, you know, have a little bit of automation, yeah, that's an extra component that, you know, probably can't fit into the Expanse because it's so big. So it's nice that they are able to do that here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I see. Almost, I get what you're saying there. Yeah, they're saying that because of the scale of the ship, it would make sense that maybe it's automated, and that's an interesting assumption. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just trying to go with the theme of what Chris has been doing with ships. I mean, let's just face it. Most of these big ships you need more people in them. You know,
right.
I mean, just in general, right? I mean, the Carrack. If you fitted out a Carrack, and I'm just using the Carrack because everybody's familiar with the Carrack. If let's say that every station actually is meaningful, I mean, really meaningful, right? So if you put 3 people in the cockpit of a Carrack, you've got a pilot, co-pilot, and an engineer, right? So that's 3. Then, and you know, that's what you got. And I'm saying they're there, and I'm talking about because you're in space where you need to man stuff, right? I mean, you're not just sitting there. If you're just in quantum, you don't care if people are sitting in those other 2 seats. But if you're doing something, 3 people. Now you've got the drone room. You don't have to have anybody in the drone room. So let's let that go. Even though there's 2 seats in there, let's just say your engineer and your co-pilot could go in there and work. But let's just say for right now, nobody's seated in there. Then you've got the medical bay, right? And that medical bay is actually a pretty big medical bay, right? There's like a doctor's office in there. There's another room for supplies. There's 3 beds, right? There's the one big one and then the 2 side ones. So let's just say you've got somebody who's into medicine, because when you go down on planets, that's what they do. They're like a combat medic, but they're an explorer medic, right? They're there to do medicine for you. So let's say that's a 4th person. Then you've got the engineering area in the back. Now, is somebody going to run from, you know, your co-pilot engineer? Is your engineer going to run from the front all the way to the back of the freaking Carrack when something goes wrong? You could do that. I think that would be kind of crazy. So you may have a 5th person on that ship to be able to be back there. And maybe that person, when they're not doing something, could go upstairs and do cartography because the elevator's back there. They could get to engineering quickly if they needed to. That's at least 5 people on that ship, to me, that would have to run that ship. If you were fully tricked out, I'd say 5 to 8 people on a Carrack. Now, most people don't run like that. Some people do, but I think that would be the number. So on a ship like this, where you've got a pilot, you've got 3 stations in the front, a refinery, right? And then if you wanted to put a couple people in to take the rocks out, that's 2 more people, that's 5. So that's 5 people operating this ship. And it's supposed to be, what, 5 to 7, I think? Something like that? 5 to 6?
Yeah, it's funny we talk about people about playing people who play solo this game tend to have a worse time playing it because of like the bugs that happen or the amount of time it takes to do something. But when you have more people that you're working with and you're talking to, even if like you have a 30K, it's so much more enjoyable because everyone's like, 30K, LOL, and people make jokes and stuff like that. But it's like, it just makes things so much more worth your time. I feel like so much. I'll say not worth your time, just more enjoyable in that social aspect, having other people there. And if you had like between 5 people here, you could also do 5 prospectors. Imagine like going out, you know, doing a mineral vein that's supposed to be on planets eventually and moons, and you have this whole crew of people, like 5 to 20 prospectors doing this vein. And of course, maybe some Storm AA sprinkled in there for protection. So I just think that like multiplayer is just going to be a lot more enjoyable than people think it's going to be for some, because of course they're coming from Eve and Elite Dangerous and even Mass Effect, which I say I love, and it's a different dynamic, and I think people will really get to enjoy it.
Yeah, it is. And again, the gaming industry has not been promoting cooperative play very much over the last 10 years, 10, 15 years. And we've become much more isolated with playing games. And there's nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. I love being able to play. Like I went back into recently playing Divinity Original Sin, right? The game that's done by Baldur's Gate people. And it's I could play it with other people, but I'm controlling my 4 characters and I'm having a good time playing that game. But I've also played Baldur's Gate 3 with another group of people in the past, and I really enjoyed that level of cooperative play. So I'm not taking anything away from solo gameplay, not by all means. What I am saying, though, is that there can be limitations or the levels of risk can be dramatic if you play the game solo. And whether it's something as simple like what you just said, Admiral, whether it's just the fact that when you're 30K, you want to get something done, it's frustrating. I will admit, you're right. When there are 4 other people playing and we get a 30K and someone says, well, I'm going to jump back in. It does kind of, well, okay, I'll jump back in too, or maybe if I was by myself, I might have said, forget it. It does bring a different dynamic of whether or not we play the game. Now, we're going to talk about 30Ks in a minute because I'm going to show you guys some interesting stuff that might even address the 30K issue that Admiral just brought up. Last but not least, Siege of Orison. I want to touch on this just a little bit. At IAE this year, some of you probably noticed that there was a little bit of propaganda going on at IAE, and it had to do with Ninetales, with the Xenothreat stuff, right? There was a theme that took place this year. CIG opened up with Alien Day, right? And they opened up with Alien Day at Microtech, but we also know that there's been this thing with the Siege going on, and you guys know the stuff with Xenothreat. They do not like anything alien. That is not their cup of tea. And some people asked, like when we watched the Molly video, they were like, well, why did they start out over at Orison? Well, this is why. Why didn't she just go straight to Microtech? Well, the reason why is because this was a part of the IAE week, and the Siege is also something that's been expanding. As you guys know, CIG last year introduced this. They had us working on this one particular platform. Since then, they've expanded it out to 3 platforms. They've added more mission depth, much tougher to do. And we're kind of seeing that this is bleeding over to Microtech. At Microtech, there was graffiti on the walls. There was interesting information about Pyro. All this stuff, the little table there with what is it called? What is it? Something for Pyro? I forget. The people for Pyro. I forget what the group is called. They had brochures on the table. There was some graffiti. There was damage done to some of the displays. So I don't know if you guys saw that. A lot of people ran past this stuff. Admiral pointed out some stuff to me that I even missed that was right there on the platform. So I'm curious to see how lore is going to start to build out more at IAE. IAE did have some cool things that you guys saw. They had some displays up. Usually at Invictus, when you come in, they have this display with the different branches of the military. This year at IAE, they had these areas for mining and cargo, these 3D kind of mannequins that were out there showing what mining and cargo could look like, talking about the new guilds that are going to be introduced for mining and cargo as well. They had information on the walls there. So they're expanding this stuff out more and more each year. My big thing I want them to do, please, CIG, next year, make it interactive. Make it so that when IAE is going on, that something happens, that the Xenothreat guys show up. Maybe there's an attack. Maybe there's something that takes place that players all of a sudden get something, an alert that pops up on our screens and Moby saying that there's an attack taking place at Orison or taking place at wherever the convention is. And NPCs, listen, we saw you guys ended up putting in some spawn closets that opened up, and I kept hoping something was going to happen. There were spawn closets in Microtech that opened up near the kiosk area that have always been closed. And I kept hoping that Xenothreat was going to show up and we were going to have to shoot. We want some interaction. It's great that the ship show is there. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to go see the ships, rent them, talk about them. But boy, oh boy, if you guys make these events interactive where something kicks off beyond looking at the price of ships, but now there's something in lore that takes place, I would love to see that happen in the game. Admiral, any thoughts on that?
I mean, it's interesting that I mean, it's nice that they were able to expand upon it. Certainly there is no love for aliens from certain, clientele.
Uh-huh.
It's just interesting that you have like areas like Orison, which is like this super super nice area,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have like major battles on it. It's
Yep.
like, I mean, I guess yeah, they're just being able to infiltrate and do what they can, but
Yeah.
it's cool, I guess. So it's interesting to see what we're going to get in the future, like throughout the verse. So it's nice that they are able to kind of keep moving on to different areas. So
Yeah.
really,
It's also interesting too, of all the places that they picked the place that has the worst frame rate. Now I'm saying that deliberately, right? Because there's a lot going on at Orison. But this is great testing ground for them to be able to have a dynamic event kickoff. Because if you're going to stress out the servers, you're going to pick the place with all the clouds. You know what I mean? I mean, this is like the place to try to technically see how much we can push this game for events. Because to do it in other locations, even Microtech's got clouds, but I'm just saying you don't have all of the frame rate stuff. Like Microtech runs smoother for most people, excuse me, than Orison, except during IAE. New Babbage was horrible. The convention center ran fine, but when you were going between the train and getting there, it was choppy for a lot of people. There was a lot of weird stuff going on. Once you got into the convention hall, though, it wasn't bad. But I am curious to see how they will expand all this out in lore and everything. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, then we come in and mow them down. Yeah, there you go. That's the way to do it all. Anti-alien protesters, at least. Yeah, that would have been cool, right? I would have loved to have seen something like that. That would have been cool, especially on Alien Day, the opening day. That would have been so awesome. And then closing day, something could have kicked off to test it out. Anyway, all right, let's move on here. That's IAE. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It should be over by now. Hopefully you have done all you do that you're going to do. Hopefully you saved a little money in your pocket. Oh, they had a video here. I didn't see this. Was there a video? Oh, there was.
Hey, happy birthday.
I missed this.
We're under attack. Security's been overrun. Please, help us.
Here's the situation. Ninetales attacks these commercial platforms. Gather any gear you need and help us take them back.
Oh, nice. I don't remember that. That was in 3.17 too. I must have been asleep, y'all. I don't know. I don't remember that video. Okay. Interesting. All right. Anyway.
They had a tank on the platform. That
I
was
saw that.
completely unrealistic.
Well, that was back in 3.17 too.
Maybe the M2. I guess you put dropping off the M2 if you really wanted to get something up there.
Yeah, that was definitely way beforehand, right?
Which is excuse me, I should say the Tumbril M2.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, the MT, sorry.
Yeah, because you drop a tank drop, that would have been kind of crazy. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is nice. I did not look at this. They have all this cool stuff on here. Okay. There are your 3 platforms. All right.
You know, I just realized that. See the top right circle there on that map that you had.
Yeah, the Roman Center here.
Yeah, that reminds me of Arrival. The way they talk.
Oh, yeah. I did not know this was here. This is actually pretty cool. Are these downloadable? Oh God, I'm gonna have to steal these platforms. How did I miss this? Brushwood's platform, yeah. I did not know this was here, guys. There you go. I'm around all the time. I slept through this one. Admin Center. Okay. I'm digging that. That's very cool. Here's the description. Central cargo barge. Storm the cargo barge, dock to the admin center, break the resistance. Okay. We'll have to do this, Admiral. We'll have to jump in and try that one out. Okay, that's that. Alrighty. Hey, welcome everybody. Those of you who just dropped in, appreciate you guys being here. We just did our review of IAE. Talked about all the good stuff that happened at IAE. I want to show you guys a video. This just came out this morning. It's by DigitalMaster Gaming. Those of you who watch us on Soul Citizens, you know, we had DigitalMaster on as a guest. We have to have him come back. But he put this out just within this today. And once you guys take a look at this, it's on the Citizen Replication Layer Split. And for those of us, we hear about the replication layer all the time, but I think he did a fairly good breakdown on this and talked about it. So if you just want to kind of what's the word I want to say? Cliff Notes version of what this replication layer stuff is. I think he did a really good job on this. So let me turn it on for you. You can check it out. It's only just 4 minutes, 5 minutes long, and then we're going to wrap it up. So check this out. I hope you'll enjoy it. Oh, let me, here we go.
So the replication layer split testing is with the Evocati, and all signs point to successful test and some fixes to what we have been waiting for a very long time. This video is for those of you who may have always wondered how all the technology of Star Citizen works and who either hasn't read or didn't follow the public information available today on the subject provided by CIG. So I wanted to have a little fun visualizing my personal understanding of that information and sharing it along with you. Hopefully this format is fun to watch and helps you better understand how it all works underneath the hood. For this episode, I wanted to break down the underlying architecture related to the replication layer split and then discuss what that means for me and you as we play the game. Without further delay, let's dive in. So here we are, the players of Star Citizen in front of our gaming computers, logging into the Star Citizen game client today. As we do so, we are connected to the replication layer service, which in the live build at the time of creating this video is coupled with the DGS, or Dedicated Game Server. The DGS is where the simulation of Star Citizen runs, and today that consists of only Stanton. The replication layer then connects you to the DGS, and we play Star Citizen. The main limitation of this current workflow is that the game cannot scale. The replication layer being connected to a single DGS prevents Star Citizen's ability to scale. Another problem is that if the server dies, aka we experience a 30K error, the replication layer dies as well. As you can see, the game simulation and replication layer are both hosted on a single DGS, coupled together. This means that they are sharing the same compute resources as well, which leads to a compute resource bottleneck. What the replication layer split introduces is a complete evolution of the underlying architecture where it, along with other complementary microservices, are moved and hosted onto its own server, or scale set. So now the replication layer and the DGS are separated, which allows the replication layer to communicate with more than one in the same shard. Now, as you can see, this opens up the door to the first implementation of server meshing. However, let's talk about what we might experience as players from just this replication layer split. First, let's revisit the discussion around shared compute resources. On a single DGS today, the replication and simulation are hosted on the same server, as we already discussed. This means that their process or processes are sharing and utilizing compute resources such as CPU, memory, disk, and network throughput. With the separation, the compute resources used by the replication layer are freed for use by the simulation only. This means that we might, and I want to stress that this is purely my own speculation, that we may see some performance improvements. Number 2. Secondly, the replication layer split will now enable the replication layer to do one of its central jobs in replicating session state between multiple DGSs, which includes mitigating the dreaded effects of a 30K error or a dying server. So we should no longer be negatively affected by a 30K disconnection error and will now have our session preserved by the replication layer and rejoin to a new server to continue our gameplay sessions. Number 3. The final detail, as alluded to earlier, is that now the replication layer is primed to introduce the first implementation or realization of true server meshing. That first iteration will be the static server meshing. So there you have it, and I hope it was helpful. My next episode in this manner will go over static server meshing and what that might look like for us. If you are not subscribed, please do so in order to be notified of all upcoming videos. Thanks for hanging out, happy gaming to you, and I will see you in the next one.
Okay. That's it. Great video, pretty straightforward. Gives you a good idea about what's going on with the replication layer. And to his point, Ivocati are now working on this, and the rumor mill is that it is going very, very well. Some of you guys have already had this happen. I don't know if you guys have ever had where the server recovers on you. You'll get just a quick second where things will jump and you'll think the server's dying. The next thing you know, it kicks in. That's been one thing we've been seeing. We've also been seeing where when you do get a 30K crash, and I was with some friends a couple of weeks ago, we were boarding a Starfare. There were 4 of us, and we had just come up the ramp, and I was standing at the button to raise the ramp up, and one of my friends, Nihilus, was coming up the ramp, and he got right inside the door. And as soon as I got ready to push the button, we crashed. We went to 30K. And we were like, oh, man, crash. We all logged back in, and when we logged back in, I was standing there right at the button. He was standing right here. Everybody else was behind me. We went right back into the game after the 30K. So the fact that that level of retrieval is there is good, but ultimately, with this coming in, you won't get that anymore. You won't get the 30K. That the game will just continue. It'll jump to a new server. The replication layer will be there, and again, this is going to move us to static server meshing, and then ultimately CIG is working toward dynamic server meshing. So a lot of promise, a lot of good stuff here. So we really wanted to kind of let you guys know this is being worked on right now. Ivocati's testing this right now, and they've been ever since we went to 3.18. Remember, they put up that extra server that was doing the testing for the replication. That's been already going on, but now they're hoping to get this wrapped up. In fact, CIG said that this work with the replication layer was actually more difficult than the server meshing stuff. Server meshing's been around a long time, but their type of server meshing is on a whole nother scale and level than what we've had in the past. So they are innovating what is being done in gaming, not just for Star Citizen, but in gaming in general. Admiral, you got anything on this? I know he's at work. Oh, there he is.
No.
Okay.
I'm just looking forward to it, like everybody else, to see where it turns into, really, and to see how it benefits, like, our FPS.
Mm-hmm.
And
we had a decent gaming session last night, right? We didn't have anything. Did anybody get kicked out last night? We had somebody.
No, but it was. Remember that thing? It was funny. So people don't know this. I tried to do I tried to do the display info thing, but I got the code wrong, and then it started giving me all like all this background code and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw it was like the what was it? The token was about to expire, and usually you see that as a code, like token expired, you get kicked out. It's like it's a version of a 30K, and then it was like, and it restarted. I saw it like restart a new token. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. I think we just like past it. At least I did anyway. At least it affected me. So
yeah,
I mean, I didn't see any difference. So
we were in for about 3 to 4 hours last night, and things went well. We were over at Hurston. We didn't have any problems last night. The missions were bugged, but as far as the game performance, things went well for everybody last night. So, we're getting closer and closer to that point where we're no longer going to be in the back of our minds worrying about a crash, and that's great when you're able to play the game and not have to worry about that, because a lot of times there's certain aspects of the game people won't play because they're back in the day. You guys remember, people didn't like doing trading or taking a lot of stuff because they were too afraid that, you're sweating on your way to deliver your trade goods because the game would crash and you'd lose everything. And that the sentiment is slowly disappearing. It's more of a frustration than it is a matter of loss at this point. So anyway, great job, Digital Gaming. I put the link in there in chat for you guys. Definitely check it out. Good stuff. If you need to watch it again, definitely helpful to have understanding and share it with other folks too. DigitalMaster is a really great guy. Okay. I think we have reached the end of the road for today. We have covered all this stuff. I appreciate Admiral Kusanagi coming in and keeping me company as always, even though he's probably working. I appreciate him being here with me.
I'm working on an Excel spreadsheet right now.
Are
so.
you? Okay.
You're like, look at this. And I'm like, oh, let me switch over real quick. This is my opinion.
Okay. Well, listen, we are going to move on here, and I'm going to send you guys over to my good friend Montoya over at Test Squadron. He is running right now. If you get over to see Montoya, let him know that you came over from Griff. Hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Thank you guys for supporting. Don't forget, this weekend, we're going to be doing the Digital Bar Citizen, virtual Bar Citizen, Virtual Bar Citizen, Saturday, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Information is in my Twitter. Follow it. I don't have it here, but you guys definitely, please join us. We have folks from all over the world, people from CIG come and hang out with us. It's a real great time. We'll be on from 12 till 4 Eastern Time, then again from 5 till 9 Eastern Time. You can come in anytime. Register once. You can come to either. You can hang out for both, whatever the case may be. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys there. So again, we're going to send you over to Montoya. When you guys get over to Montoya, give him a shout. Follow him. Great guy. Lots of fun. And he's crazy. I can tell you that right now. So brace yourself. All right. Anyway, stay safe. Take care of yourselves, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace, love, and soul. Don't forget Fast Car tonight. Soul Talk, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Soul Citizens. Take care. Ciao.